Okay, let's just jump right in. I want you to forget everything you think you know about space travel. Seriously, no rockets, no warp drives, no spending decades frozen in cryosleep. What if you could hop between star systems as easily as you walk across the room? Well, that's the wild idea we're exploring today. Travel in a fifth-dimensional reality.
You know, the source material we're looking at kicks things off with this pretty familiar question, and it's not just some casual nod to science fiction. It's actually a launchpad for a really radical idea. It asks us to consider that maybe, just maybe, what we've seen in shows like Star Trek isn't pure fantasy. What if it's hinting at a reality that operates on principles we can barely even wrap our heads around? A reality where warp drive isn't some piece of advanced tech, but a natural, built-in ability.
So, the big question is, why can't we do this? I mean, why are we stuck here? Well, the answer really comes down to the fundamental rules of our universe. We are completely bound by what you could call the tyranny of distance. For us, the sheer, mind-boggling scale of the cosmos, it's like a prison wall.
I mean, think about it. Our physical laws are just unforgiving. To get from point A to point B, you have to cross every single inch of space in between. There are no shortcuts. Even light, the fastest thing we know of, takes over 4 years just to get to the next star over. That's why we have these concepts like light years and that weird brain-twisting paradox of time dilation, where space travelers actually age slower than the people they left behind. These aren't just little hurdles to overcome. They are fundamental, rock-solid barriers in our reality.
But what if you could just sidestep those barriers entirely? What if they simply didn't exist? This is exactly where the idea of the fifth dimension comes in. And look, this isn't just another direction like up, down, left, or right. We're talking about a completely different landscape for reality itself. A place where our familiar rules about distance and time are just, well, they're obsolete.
So what is a 5D reality exactly? Okay, try to picture this. Imagine a map, but this isn't a normal map. This map shows not just every place in the universe, but also every single moment in time. Every location, every second, from the Big Bang to the end of time, it all exists at once, like one giant, accessible landscape. In this kind of reality, where you want to go and when you want to go there are just coordinates you can plug in.
And when you put them side by side, the difference is just staggering. In our 3D reality, we're basically crawling along a straight line. We have to deal with these immense, impossible distances and a flow of time that only goes one way, forward. But in 5D, space-time itself can be folded. You can just pinch it together. And suddenly, those vast distances become nothing more than a tiny little shift in coordinates. Time is no longer a river pushing you along. It's an entire ocean, and you can sail anywhere on it you want.
Okay, so this brings us to the really crucial part, right? How does this travel actually work? How would a being navigate this 5D landscape to just hop from our solar system to another one in an instant? It forces a complete rethinking of what it even means to move. So here's the absolute core concept, and it's a big one. A 5D being isn't flying a ship or blasting through the void. They're not moving through space at all. They're moving along a different axis, the fifth dimension itself, which lets them manipulate the fabric of space-time. The best analogy is the old piece of paper trick. You have two distant points on a sheet of paper. Instead of drawing a line between them, you just fold the paper and touch the points together. You don't travel the distance, you eliminate it. So the process itself would look something like this. First, the being just perceives its origin and its destination. Let's say Earth and a planet way over in the Andromeda galaxy. To them, those are just coordinates on that big 5D map. Second, they shift their awareness, their consciousness, along that 5D axis. And then, third, they just manifest. Poof! They arrive. Instantly. Things like time dilation, they don't even enter the picture. Totally irrelevant.
And, if that wasn't already enough to make your head spin, just remember, space is only half of the equation here. Because in a 5D reality, time also stops being a one-way street. It becomes just another navigable dimension, like length, width, and height. Now, what does that mean? It means a 5D being could choose not just where to go, but when. They could decide to visit a planet and witness its fiery primordial birth, or they could skip ahead and watch the very first spark of life emerge from the oceans. They could watch an entire civilization rise and fall over thousands of years, or they could even jump to the very last moment before its sun goes supernova. All of it is just a different coordinate on the timeline.
Okay, but here's where it gets even weirder and kind of personal. There's this other really fascinating detail in the source material. With all this incredible power, right? The ability to fold space-time and just appear wherever and whenever they want, these beings often show up in a form that is surprisingly familiar.
And this quote right here, this is the key to the whole puzzle. It says that despite existing in a reality that's totally beyond our comprehension, their fundamental consciousness, their very sense of self, is still rooted in a humanoid framework. Now that is a really strange, intriguing limitation, isn't it?
And that just opens up a huge question, doesn't it? I mean, why would you limit yourself to a form with 2 arms and 2 legs when you could theoretically be anything? A ball of light? A cloud of energy? Why would a being with near infinite potential choose to show up in a way that, to us, seems so ordinary?
Well, the source material gives us 2 pretty compelling possibilities. So, option 1 is that it's just a practical choice, a projection of familiarity. The humanoid form is basically a universal avatar, a non-threatening shape they put on to interact with beings like us, without scaring us to death. Then there's option 2, the consciousness constraint. This idea is a bit deeper. It suggests that their core identity, their very soul, is so fundamentally tied to the humanoid experience that it just naturally projects that form no matter what dimension they're in.
So let's try and pull all of this together into one big idea. When you strip away all the rules and the physics of our 3D world, the whole concept of a journey becomes something else entirely. It's not a physical act anymore. It's an act of pure intention. And that's really the bottom line here. Star hopping in a 5D reality, it's got nothing to do with technology. It's all about consciousness. It's about having the ability to perceive that entire cosmic landscape and then having the focused will to simply tune your awareness to the exact coordinates you want to go to, both in space and in time.
And that kind of leaves us with one last big thought to chew on. If travel on this cosmic, unbelievable scale is really just an act of consciousness, of picking a spot on the map of all reality and simply deciding to be there, well, it kind of forces you to look at your own life, doesn't it? If our own reality is also, even in a small way, a landscape that's shaped by our focus and our intention, it really makes you wonder, where are we choosing to go, right here, right now?